The definition of the word religion has bent and written over so many times in the human history that we do not have accounting of it and evidence of it. If you Google the term religion, it will most probably link this to the Latin term religio, and most people would just believe that term since we all know Latin is one of the oldest languages which can be transcribed today rather than other ancient languages. But instead, religio definition is that a group of people performed social, acceptable cultic duties which were performed for the gods so that the gods become happy somehow and shower that group of people with happiness, wealth, and a happy life. We see the same pattern after thousands of years still today with a quite large number of groups around the world. What exactly is religion? Well, of course, we're no different in finding the true definition than what is already out there. However, we can dig deep into this topic to figure out how this term religion makes sense to us logically, not religiously. Religion is a very blurry and distorted definition depending upon who is using this term and what is their motive behind to convey this term to a certain group of people and when they are using this term. By now, you have probably figured out that we're not going to be going over the definition set by humans of what is religion because that would erase the purpose of me making this video. We're going to be focusing on why and how this term originated and motives behind it and how people still are using this term. What differentiates philosophy from religion? And what differentiates secular humanism from religion? I've recently watched this movie called Heretic. I was so amazed of the topic of the movie and how the message was conveyed to the general public. This movie did not gain popularity as it was questioning the reality of religion and does it make sense that it is even real. It sure did outraged religious groups around the world, especially Christian communities. But still movie showed that the concept of religion is the kind of same for all different religions out there. Of course, as a cinema fanatic myself, the acting, direction, cinematography, and writing played a huge role of me getting directed towards the movie, but still, I went to cinema without even watching the trailer. So whatever I consumed from that movie was from the very first exposure. In the book, titled, What Religion Is Not, the author, Philip J. Montalbano, he mentioned that, quote, religion helps people to relieve anxieties regarding mortality and death, unquote. Author Wilhelm Bosse mentioned in his work that religion has conducted man to his highest point of civilization. What I figured from this is that humans who were following religion of any sort had something to focus on except their daily chores. I came to this conclusion because if you consider nowadays, there are more than enough distractions for humans. So why most would choose religion? So Wilhelm's point makes sense, that religion actually did brought humans to a civilization because some people, whoever wrote religion from time to time and keep improvising it, considered that to keep people more and more civilized. Religion is the way to do it. I also noticed that many people think that religion was just a one-time written thing and we're still following the same ideology after thousands of years, which is utter nonsense, of course, because again, how come we got to know about religion? We got to know through human beings who kept writing and kept adding pages into the religious books. However, not everything they added is contradictory to how people should live their life, but some things are flamboyant. Modern society and religion are somehow still connected in modern civilization across the world. We also need to consider that churches, temples, or holy places were much, much more powerful thousands of years ago than they were 150 years ago or now especially. There are still some institutions which are powerful to this day, but not to the extent that they were thousands of years ago. Some people even believe that all the progression in human life is due to religion, even though I disagree on that. Even a commonly accepted definition of religion has proved difficult to establish, though not for lack of trying. Attempts have been made to find a distinctive ingredient in all religions, such as the numinous or spiritual experience, the contrast between the sacred and the profane, and the belief in one or more gods. But objections have been brought against all these attempts, either because the rich variety of religion makes it easy to find counterexamples, or because the element cited as central is in some religious peripheral. The gods play a merely subsidiary role, for example, in Buddhism. A more promising method would seem to be that of exhibiting aspects of religion that are typical of religions, though not necessarily universal, such as the occurrence of the rituals of worship. There are religions, however, in which even worship rituals are not central. Even if an inventory of kinds of belief and practice could be gathered so as to provide a typical profile of what counts as a religion, some scholars would maintain that the differences between religions are more significant than their similarities. Moreover, in the absence of a tight definition, there will always be a number of disputed cases. Thus, some political ideologies such as communism and fascism have been regarded as analogous to religion. Certain attempts at a functionalist definition of religion, such as that of the German-American theologian Paul Tillich, who defined religion in terms of human beings' ultimate concern, would leave the way open to count these ideologies as proper objects of the study of religion, although there is still no argument on this issue. The frontier between traditional religions and modern political ideologies remains a promising topic of study. A new Pew Research Center study of the ways religion influences the daily lives of Americans finds that people who are highly religious are more engaged with their extended families, more like to volunteer, more involved in their communities, and generally happier with the way things are going in their lives. Now, the study does not mention how strongly religious these people were or are. As we know, there are levels of religious people. Some we call extremists and some we call well-balanced religious people. For example, I follow certain logical common sense ideologies comes from different religions, and I do apply them in my life. And they have been very successful to make my life easier and more fulfilling. So yes, a person does not have to follow a specific religion to live their life. They can pick a couple things here and there from different religion and apply them to their life. In this Pew research, they found out that these lifestyle differences due to religion are found not only in the US adult population as a whole, but also within a variety of religious traditions, such as between Catholics who are highly religious and those who are less religious. And they persist even when controlling for other factors, including age, income, education, geographic, region of residence, marital status, and parental status. However, in several other areas of day-to-day life, including interpersonal interactions, attention to health and fitness, and social and environmental consciousness, Pew Research Center surveys find that people who pray every day and regularly attend religious services appear to be very similar to those who are not as religious. German philosopher Karl Marx believed that, quote, "If people are to know and understand the real world, they must give up the superstitious beliefs because they have a narcotic effect on the mind," unquote. Marx's words on religion are, of course, in German. He used the German word Volk, which usually translates as the people rather than the masses or the mobs. Then, too, it's important to remember that opium and opium derivatives were for the most part legal during the period in which Marx wrote, and that thought of largely as medicinal. Any suggestion that Marx was equating religion to an illegal addictive narcotic is off target, as he did not mention religion as something negative. Marx's actual words regarding religion deserve reflection. Overall, Marx is speaking not as a man of faith, but rather as a secular humanist. However, he does appear to suggest a largely positive role religion could play in exploitative and alienating society. Human beings have the distressing habit of killing one another because of religious differences, and some of our most religious citizens wear the biggest of blinders. But Marx is right that our society can use a heart and a soul wherever we might find it. In imagining religion, Smith engages simultaneously in comparing religions and in analyzing the scholarly practice of comparison. A central theme of his essays is that the concept religion are not scientific terms, but often reflect the unrecognized biases of those who use these concepts to sort their world into those who are or are not like us. In the short preface to that book, Smith famously says, quote, "There is no data for religion. Religion is solely the creation of the scholar's study. It is created for the scholar's analytical purpose by his imaginative acts of comparison and generalization. Religion has no independent existence apart from the academy." Unquote. Smith himself repeatedly uses religion and related technical terms he invented, such as locative religion, to illuminate social structures that operate whether or not those so described had named those structures themselves. The second most influential book in the reflexive turn in religious studies is Talal Asad's Genealogies of Religion. Assad seeks to show that the concept religion operating in contemporary anthropology has been shaped by assumptions that are Christian and modern. Assad's point is that though people may have all kinds of religious beliefs, experiences, moods, or motivations, the mechanism that teaches them will be techniques of some authorizing power, and for this reason, one cannot treat religion as simply inner states. The simple answer is that if anyone is seriously concerned for truth, one must search as far and as widely as possible to find truth. Even if an individual thinks that they know the truth, once they become aware that their view is disputed by others who are more intelligent, well-informed, and intellectually serious, then the individual will wish to know what accounts for the great differences among religious claims, and that whether one has the right to be certain of one's own highly disputed beliefs, whether they are religious or non-religious. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this topic and video. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe for the next upcoming work. Thank you. Have a good day.